What's going on, everybody? This is Jamie Kane with the one and only Alex Farling. There's nobody better to introduce Alex Farling than Alex Farling. So I'll let you give us an introduction to who you are, man.
Jamie, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name's Alex. I'm a longtime MSP guy. I bought a little break fix shop back in 2004. Just like a lot of folks listening to this, evolved into managed services and into being a full MSP. Sold that business in 2020 and built a little tool that some folks may have heard of called Lifecycle Insights. That got acquired by ScalePad back in 2023. And now I'm partnered with two awesome human beings, Kyle Christensen and Wes Spencer, building out Empath here in the MSP community. So lifelong MSP community person, just can't seem to decide which role I want to be in the MSP community. So
just be all of them, dude.
Yeah, lots.
Just be all of them.
I'm just here and noisy. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited to have you on as the first guest at Filter. Once again, the point of this show is, HelpGhost is an AI native company, but there is a lot of, for lack of a better term, noise around AI in the MSP channel right now. We both know that the MSP channel has lagged behind in AI adoption compared to a lot of other industries, I think for good reason. As an AI native company, me and my co-founder Andrew are actually both AI skeptics. I don't believe that AI fixes all problems. As a matter of fact, I know it doesn't because I see it firsthand, but I do believe it fixes a lot of problems or can't have the potential to if used correctly. And I wanted to have Alex on as someone that is a long-term person in the MSP channel who's well-known, who's building a product outside of the AI native space, right? But clearly you see the opportunity with AI, but you made a post on LinkedIn recently that really made me think, and I couldn't have agreed more, in that most MSPs are thinking about AI the wrong way. And this post was specifically around, I'm not going to read the first section of this. You said, Kyle Christensen, who is one of your business partners, right, said the hard part out loud yesterday, and I want to elaborate on it. Tier 1 isn't going away, he said. That's because everyone wants to talk about that BS topic, not because is AI coming for tier 1 jobs is even the right question to be asking. Hot take, it's not. The better question is this: what jobs do we hire tier 1 to do? So I want to break this down. You don't, and we here at HelpGhost say we're not here to replace technicians. We're here to leverage your existing team and replace a hire, manage more profitable endpoints per technician, right? And upskill your people to the role so they can drive more strategic and project revenue is the purpose of HelpGhost. But I wanted you to elaborate on just that first section of that LinkedIn post.
Yeah, well, I mean, my thought on this is pretty simple. People do business with people. They want human interaction when everything is going wrong. When you're in that stressful moment of something's broken, something doesn't work, and you pick up the phone and call, do you want a long, elongated call tree going, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 27 for this? No, you want a human. You want somebody to pick up the phone and go, hey, man, I empathize with you. I understand you've got a project due in 20 minutes. You got to go present to the board and things aren't working. Or your boss has expectations and you can't meet them right now. So they want a human to empathize and they want a human who can help them fix it. So there are a lot of worthless tasks we've thrown in front of tier 1s just because they become the meat shield between the tier 2 and tier 3, who just takes all the slings and arrows for the crappy should have been proactive tickets that aren't. And yeah, they take the tickets for unplug the USB cord for your keyboard and plug it back in. Go check the printer and make sure it's got paper in it, because we should never have as many printer tickets as we do. No tier 1 enjoys those tickets. They don't want to do those tickets. If AI can start to triage and figure out some of those tickets, wonderful. But at the point at which I'm in a panic, I get some AI chatbot and I can't get a human, and there better be an eject button that says, just go get me a person, because I need someone who can cut through the red tape, skip the steps that's pretty obvious that I probably already tried, and not run me through just the script. We need something that's going to be able to, we need human to human interaction. If, there have been MSPs tried to go all automation, all, low human headcount, all automation, and sell managed services for $25 or $50 an endpoint. They've all failed. They have all failed. None of them have successfully done that. So if that didn't work, what leads us to believe that an LLM magically fixes that problem?
Something that my co-founder says all the time, and he's speaking specifically about HelpGhost, but I think it can be applied to AI help desk and automation as a whole, is that it needs to be a conduit, not a barrier to human support.
Yep.
Right. And all the things
And
that you were talking about. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I think it's more than just a conduit too. It is a conduit, and it might deflect a little bit of human support, but at the end of the day, really, it also makes your humans faster and smarter.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
If I can, click two buttons and get AI to go out and do a password reset for me, great. That's a website I didn't have to log into, a whole step of things I didn't have to do. Awesome. But it shouldn't be that my customer can't talk to a human when they have a moment of need. Number one, I'm ruining a
100%.
relationship there. And
Yeah.
MSPs only exist. The biggest problem that PEs have when they go try and buy a bunch of MSPs, the reason most of them don't bundle them together under one umbrella is because these are relationship companies. And by taking away that local brand and that local company, the relationship disappears.
Well,
So-
I made a video recently, and you commented on it, and you said, I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was smart as always. So I'll just go ahead and say that. You said, I think you said something that says you're addressing my number one qualm with AI, and the whole video was about how to deploy, because a part of HelpGhost feature set is deploying help desk AI, and help desk automation is probably the biggest talking point right now in the channel, I would say, or like one of the biggest, right? And once again, I'm not trying to make this all that HelpGhost, because this is more than just HelpGhost. It's AI and the channel as a whole, right? But the video I put out, I did talk about was that it's clear to me as someone that's come from outside the channel coming in, that the biggest differentiator for any MSP is the people.
Yeah.
By far, it is by far the biggest differentiator. It's what makes you, because at the end of the day, MSPs, it's better than I do. You ran an MSP. They were support organizations at their core, right? And people want to feel like they have a relationship with a business that, frankly, is handling a lot of sensitive data. You don't want to feel like you're being always handed off to this thing, right? That is handling, treasure trove of sensitive data that, frankly, doesn't get talked about enough about how much data MSPs actually protect.
We're damn near security focused grief counselors. Nobody ever calls you on Tuesday to go, hey, Jamie, just wanted to call and let you know it's Tuesday. Everything's working. I'm drinking my third cup of coffee and everything's great. I wanted to tell you I love you guys. Click. Like 17 years in MSP, that phone call never came through. We did get a couple cookies at Christmas time, but nobody ever interacts with their MSP just to interact with their MSP. In fact, for years, we've been pulling teeth just to get our customer to come sit down with us and have a strategic business conversation. They see us as the grief coach that is going to help them out when they're in a moment of grief and help put that to bed. And so when that's what you are, inserting friction of an LLM or a chatbot or some sort of AI that doesn't let me talk to a human just multiplies the problem. Now, if I have a non-urgent thing and I'm just like, hey, I need to onboard a new user and they're not starting for 3 more weeks, great, no problem. I can go talk to an AI. It can ask me all the questions. I can fill in the form, whatever. We can build all that, and a human can come back to me when it's done or when it's ready. There are places for it. But and what I mentioned in that post was that Clay Christensen talks about in his YouTube video. If you haven't seen the YouTube video, it's called Jobs to be Done. And if you just Google Clay Christensen Jobs to be Done, there's a fantastic video. And he says, when McDonald's was trying to increase milkshake sales, because milkshakes are a super high margin item, doesn't cost much to make one, probably because there's no actual milk in it at McDonald's, but whatever. Super high margin product. They want to sell more milkshakes. So they went out and questioned a bunch of customers and said, what would make a milkshake? What would make you more likely to buy a milkshake? And some of them said, we want the strawberry pinker. We want the milkshake smoother. We want this, that, the other. And everything they tried, nothing impacted the sales of milkshakes. So instead, they hire Clay Christensen's company. They go out and they stand outside of a McDonald's. They watch people walk out with the milkshake and they stop them and say, what was the job that you bought that milkshake to do today? And it's an interesting question. But I'd ask the same question of my service desk, of my tier 1 engineers, and of my AI and automation solutions, because the answer they got wasn't, I was thirsty. It wasn't that I was hungry. The most common answer they got was, I'm commuting and I wanted something to keep me busy. Nobody thinks about that. But when they really unpack that, they learned that if they could make the milkshake a little thicker, people would drink it longer. And that was the thing that actually increased milkshake sales, because it fed into the job to be done, which is keep me busy on a commute. We never step back to go, what is the job to be done of a tier 1 engineer?
So you already real fast. You've already. I was going to ask you about the milkshakes. So you've already done that. And literally, my next question is, what is the job to be done of tier one? So so not to interrupt you. I'm like, Alex is already 2 steps ahead of my question.
But it's something we don't appreciate enough in business. And I think no matter what your business is, that is a fantastic question. At Empath, we literally ask ourselves that question as we're redesigning a piece of the UI right now. We're rebuilding a piece of the UI. Our UI team came to us and said, look at all these pretty widgets and gadgets and things that we can build. And they're gorgeous. They're fantastic. But I look at it and I think, I'm not sure what the job to be done of this page is. What does my user want when they're on this page? What are they trying to achieve? How do I back into putting the right widgets and gadgets in the right order so that when they get to this page, they get what they want back out of it? And it's the same with your service desk. When somebody picks up the phone and calls your service desk, what's the job to be done of the first person they interact with, whether it's a human, whether it's an AI, whatever it is? What is the job to be done? It's to put the customer at ease, to collect enough information that we can respond to this quickly, right? And to create a frictionless experience that keeps them coming back. All the rest of it's anecdotal. Like the first person who answers the phone isn't necessarily the guy who's going to fix the problem. That's why dispatchers exist. But their job is to make sure that customer feels heard and understood, to take good notes, to get all the info, and to make sure the customer understands the timeline of a repair, and to make sure that the customer understand that we understand the significance to the customer. Right? If they say, hey, my printer's not working, and I go, well, can you use the one down the hall and around the corner? And they go, yeah, I can. It's a pain in the ass, but I can do that for now. Okay, no problem. We'll get to you before the end of the business day. Can you use another printer? No. And I have a meeting in 10 minutes and I need to print this. Okay, let me see if I can escalate this and get a human to you. Right. And so the ability to make those on the fly decisions and to collect that information and to be empathetic when we do it, that's more powerful than knocking 50 cents off the bottom line because I bought an AI. And I think we're in such a hurry to justify the price of AI because it's not cheap, right? We know all of us are paying for AI and the companies who are selling it to us are losing money. So eventually they're going to raise their price. So we're trying to justify the cost of AI. And the only way we know how to do it right now is headcount cuts. So we go very quickly to, I got to fire people, or I got to be able to scale without hiring people in order for AI to justify its cost. And that's a problem. It's a problem for all these AI companies that nobody wants to talk about. And HelpGhost as an AI company, like you and I have had this conversation offline. Like, we have to talk about this. We have to figure out a way for AI technologies to go to market to make people more efficient and effective so that they can make their company more money. So the company can afford not only to pay for that AI, but put some dollars back to the bottom line, pay our people better, get our people out of shitty jobs. Because I don't know a tier one out there who, if you said, hey, if I could take 27 password resets off your calendar every month, would you be happier? Would you enjoy your job longer? Would you be more likely to stay here longer through your career? Now you know more information, you're staying longer, you're adding more value to my company, because the most expensive part is hiring your replacement and getting them up to speed. So if AI can take some of the dumb, boring stuff off the calendar or off my calendar that I didn't enjoy doing, that's where the value is. It's not in replacing the human.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think about we were with one of our partners, an MSP, and we were sitting down with their technicians, and they don't really have a tier 1 L1 level of support. Everyone's tier level 2 or above, right? But they all handle L1 tasks, and that number one, when we were first founding HelpGhost, it was so obvious. I'm like, here you have your most valuable resource people that actually enjoy doing strategic projects, that actually enjoy doing the harder things. Like they got into this because they enjoy the puzzle solving and the technical side of the job. And also you're paying them more to go and do these level 1 tasks that are already built into your SLAs for most of the time. And so you have your most expensive resource doing a task that they already hate, that you're not making any additional money on. That's number one. But the point of me even bringing that story was, I remember they were using one of our other features called Hero. But I asked them, because they hadn't deployed our help desk automation tool yet. And I didn't ask the leadership. I asked the technicians, if we could take X, Y, and Z, just the tier 1 tasks off the y'all's plate, would you want to deploy that tool? And I'm not joking. Every single tech nodded their head and said, why haven't we deployed that already? And leadership was in the room with us.
Yeah. Right.
And so it's so clear that there was I'm not saying that's true for every MSP, but if every partner we've talked to, and the technicians like tier 2, like, I don't know why I keep saying tier 2, L2, L3, right? It's been, I would say, about 90% the same answer. The other thing I want to say is I believe you're 100% correct in the way that we think about AI, and there is clearly a problem looming with AI, and you've already lined it out, so I won't break it down further. But I do believe, like right now, at least for us, it's okay. How do we leverage the existing team so you don't have to hire somebody else to manage the more endpoints? I think that's a pretty common use case. At least that's the outcome that we're I shouldn't say it's a common use case. That's the outcome that we're after with HelpGhost. But the long-term outcome is the upskilling of people. So you can actually bring people in, upskill them faster, and dramatically reduce the amount of time that it takes them to get from a L1 to an L2 to an L3 and drive more value for your business, right? So not only are you bringing in more valuable people and giving them a chance, but you're getting more value out of them faster than you previously would have. I don't know your thoughts on that.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on that. Like you take the average person that gets hired at an MSP, and they're most likely a young kid early on in their career, a little nerdy and probably a video gamer who spent way too much time hacking around and playing with the family's computers and family network. We're hiring them right out of high school or right out of college, maybe out of a tech school. A lot of them don't have the best people skills. I know that because at Empath, the #1 piece of training that gets watched every month is soft skills. And it's never fails. It's not even close. So we're having to teach these kids how to talk to people so that they can do technical work. Imagine if we flip that on its head. Imagine if we let the technical kids dive in deep and go do the real technical stuff and go do tier 2 and tier 3 work. And our tier 1 engineers were actually the personality and the quality of the kid you talk to in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru. If every time they smiled when they answered the phone, they made the customer feel really great. And when they got off the phone, they ended with a "my pleasure. Have a great day." Right? Imagine if we were able to recruit those people because the AI and the technology was allowing that person to do the job of a more technical person without having to have the deeply technical insights. And AI and automation are almost interchangeable here. They both allow for some of that kind of capability, but I think that's how we should start looking at a tier 1 job, because the tier 1 job still is deflection, absorbing that the volume of calls that come in, triaging and diagnosing and basically de-escalating where there's panic, escalating where there's justified panic, making sure that we get the right resources assigned to things, and then really protecting the margins of the business. And we can't protect the margins of the business if I still have to hire and give pay raises to and raise up all these entry-level tier one people. But if I can hire way less skilled people and way nicer and more wonderful human beings, not more wonderful human beings, but people who make everyone else who they interact with feel wonderful, maybe we're changing who our L1 is. Maybe we're changing who that human being is, not replacing them. Pete Meldy, the CEO over at New Charter, said to me, New Charter will not fire a single tier 1 engineer over AI. He said, but what will happen is those people will get promoted, and maybe we don't replace one. They will attrit out. Tier 1 engineers are the number one job that leaves an MSP, right? They're the first folks to go get a job at a small business or at a medium-sized enterprise and go take their skill set somewhere else. When they
less than 11 months, man, less than 11 months. The average L1 tech stays with an MSP less than 11 months.
Right. So now maybe we don't need to replace them, and maybe we can get their. If we do have to replace them, maybe we can get their replacement up to speed faster, and that is a productivity gain. That's a money gain. That's a margin gain. So if we think of this person really as a friction remover more so than a meat shield that just runs through printer tickets all day long. I think that's, in my mind, where AI can be super successful. And it's not just for your help desk. Think about if AI tooling could help your sales team bubble more opportunities to the top faster and cheaper, and identify people who are more likely to buy your products and services. And there's a world where looking at AI as a thing to replace people almost undervalues what you can do with AI, because I would argue AI can make a sales rep 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 times more efficient.
I 100% agree with that.
I don't want to replace
somebody that with my background in sales. I 100% agree with that. I already know, as like looking back at my traditional SaaS sales roles, if I had the tools I had for now at the beginning, and even, I mean, this is relatively new. I mean, just back in 2023, 24, 2022, 23, when I was working for a unicorn organization out of Utah, I know I would have been 5, 6 times more effective Right. I mean, there's no doubt about it, anyways, but
But those tools get fantastic, right? We used to have to rely on big, expensive tools like Gong to give us any insight into how our sales team is doing. Today, an LLM can do it with a couple of exports of basically the call summary, and tell you which sales reps are doing a good job and which ones aren't. What are the things that are getting your people caught up, and what are the things that aren't? And there will be a day where we can do the same on our help desk. Like, imagine the world where you can just go to your AI solution and say, hey, what are the top 10 tickets that got Alex in trouble last month? Okay, now we can give Alex some training and some experience to handle this. Maybe we just need to sit down with him and go, hey, why when a customer asks this question, do you get uncomfortable and nervous? You handle a lot of other things really, really well, and this thing seems to wrap you all around the axle. Let's get to the bottom of that. We don't see patterns as well as LLMs do, but they're really freaking good at patterns. And it may be that they bubble up some pattern recognition on the help desk too. Hey, 6 people at this location created a ticket. The same tech didn't touch any of the 6, so nobody saw the pattern, but the LLM should see the pattern. The AI solution should see the pattern. So there's a world where just the enablement behind AI is way more exciting to me than the layoffs. And I've been big 100%. Into this research around AI and jobs, and there were just some layoffs in our industry yesterday. And everybody's saying, oh, AI is replacing all the salespeople that got laid off yesterday. I call bullshit, like 100% bullshit. People use that as an excuse to lay people off and not have to look bad for it. But there's a lot of studies and metrics out there that say AI actually hasn't caused any significant number of layoffs in the market. So my dog scared the living crap out of me.
That's all you jump.
For those of you on audio that just watched me jump out of the room. Yeah, that's what that was.
I do want to. I have a follow-up question to all of this. Outside, I think I may already know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. What's the biggest mistake MSPs are gonna make with AI initially, outside of the headcount thing?
I would say trust. We're gonna have some young kid given an AI solution, and they're not going to have enough experience or knowledge or distrust of that solution. They're not going to be jaded enough to go back and go, well, you're probably wrong. That doesn't pass the sniff test to me. And I can tell you personally, and I'm hacking away at my home lab over here a couple months ago, and I was stuck. And I just went to ChatGPT and went, hey man, I'm fighting with a Linux Docker container. I'm rusty as can be. I'm no longer considered an IT expert, so I'm over here fighting with it. I'm like, give me a couple ideas of things to try here, and it literally gives me a rm-rf command. Like, and I'm rusty, but I know delete recursive when I see it, and I'm like, that seems like it would blow away all my data. And AI just goes, oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. But if I had run that, if I was a tier 1 engineer who didn't know anything, I would have run that, and we'd be hopefully restoring from a backup, hopefully. But I think those are the kind of things that are going to get people in trouble. And then deploying too wide, too fast, right? Not a small deployment, some testing, a longer deployment, a little more testing. I would say, the appropriate deployment for AI in a lot of cases is going to be shallow and skinny. And we just continually iterate as we go, because we didn't build these complicated businesses overnight. In 2004, when I bought a break-fix mom-and-pop computer shop, it took 17 years to become what could be called a real significant, serious managed service provider with a security with forward-looking security and business planning and all of that. Took 17 years to build that. Didn't come out overnight. So if we just think that we can go buy a solution off the shelf, whether it's HelpGhost or anything else, and just deploy it and let it go run wild in our environment,
Absolutely.
which is we love tech. That's why we're here. So that's the temptation. If we give into that temptation, we're going to regret it. That those LLMs are going to make an idiot out of us. There's still the videos
there's levels to it, just like anything in life. I mean, that last video that I made, I said like, I laid out a couple of different strategies, and one of them was rolling out HelpGhost automation in general in batches. Find your 5-10 most tech savvy clients that would actually be excited to use the tool. Roll it out to them first, iterate, have them be your champions for it, right? Then find your next 5 to 10, right? And we do that with our clients now. But I ended that video with saying,
find a customer who will let you make a mistake and tell them, hey, our industry's moving fast. I need to try some new stuff. would you give me permission to use my new stuff with you? It might break. It might do something stupid. And I just need you to understand that. I need you to know none of us really know where AIs go, and none of us really know how to get this quite right.
But
We're going to have
they're
to do some
seeing it,
trial
and
and
they're
error.
what other your clients, and I've said this many times, right? Your clients are seeing AI everywhere in their space.
Mhm.
They're trying to figure out how to put AI into their stack right now,
And
which
it
is a
doesn't know how
whole
many R's are in
different
strawberry in their space
conversation.
either, right?
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
they're all
Yeah.
seeing the same experience. So
Yes.
it's a,
Like they
it's a
get it.
challenge
Like
for
they're
everyone.
not like they're going through the same thing in just a different ways of adoption and deployment than you are, right?
Yep.
But the point being with all this is that you're right. There are levels to this. I'm a big believer that very few things in life are black and white. Most of life is gray. Most of life is in nuance. And I think it's going to be any different with AI is a mistake. That's why we do what we do from the training aspect on our side. But I couldn't agree with you more with those sentiments.
And so I'm in the
go ahead.
skeptic bucket with you. Like I don't think we know where this stuff is going to end. I don't think we're on the cusp of AGI or any of that craziness. I think we have some interesting and neat. Yeah, I think we have some interesting and neat new tools, and I use AI every day. Like I had hours of conversations with AI on the couch last night, preparing for our executive leadership team meeting next week, and just using it as a thought partner to bounce some bad ideas off of. And hey, go research this and give me a bunch of information that I would have otherwise struggled to dig up. But I think this is just one of those tread slowly, tread lightly. Know that you probably don't want to put anything in place today that you'd have to, that it would upend your life if you had to back it out 6 months or a year from now, because this stuff is changing super fast.
Yeah, no, I've already said I agree a million times, so I'll keep it there. If an MSP owner or service desk manager or ops director, if someone's done zero thinking about all of this, right? Because we know the stat right now is, I think it was a stat by GTIA, a study by them survey that said 73% of MSPs are actively exploring the adoption of AI. That doesn't mean they're adopting it. It doesn't mean they're deploying it, but they're actively in the exploration stage. When you go to the shows, and the trade shows and the events and all that stuff, I mean, every show I've heard, AI is everywhere, clearly, right?
Yeah.
If they've done zero thinking about this, though, because a lot of people, like I said, are in that exploratory phase, not the deployment phase, right? Where do they start?
Which is good. It means we're doing our homework, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. You should be doing
So
any new emerging technology. If you've just jumped in and look, we have, we take things purposely slow with our adopters. We do it for a lot of different reasons that I won't get into here, right? But any new and emerging technology in a space that has the security concerns that the MSP channel does, and rightfully so, you should absolutely take your time, right? And absolutely ask the hard questions of the vendor that you're speaking to. I say that as an AI native vendor, right? But going back to your point of where do they start if they haven't thought about this up to this point?
Yeah, and I would say, like, the first step has to be exploration. And my first comment would be, go find your peers who are already working on this and just go collaborate. The MSP space is a weird business model. It's the only place I've ever been where the guy who competes with you across the street probably would open the door, ask you in, have a beer, and tell you how he runs his business. And that is a superpower, unlike the likes of which you don't see anywhere else in the world and in any other industry. So I would say go find a group of folks like you who are trying to figure out AI and talk to them. What are you seeing that's successful? What products and services and what part of your business does AI really move the needle in? I love the idea of starting in sales. If there's any place where you can screw up and get and still survive, it's sales, right? It can make a mistake. It can make a bad cold call, right? If you go buy an AI dialer, and if that's your jam, I'm not a fan, but if that's your jam and it does a terrible job, great. It called 10 people. Those are 10 people you're not going to do business with. Okay. Like there's plenty more fish in the sea. I think sales is a good place to just dip your toe in the water, but I also think that you need to go look at your business as a whole and figure out what are the tasks that take too much time, that are repeatable, that make people miserable in their job. The number one reason people leave their job is because they feel like they're undervalued in their job. They feel like they're doing work that they don't like. They don't feel like their boss is invested in helping them grow and become better at what they do. And there's a bunch of LinkedIn Learning research on that. But the number one reason they leave their job is because they don't see what their career path forward is. Imagine the world where you get to sit down. There's an EOS exercise called Delegate and Elevate. If you haven't done it, just go Google it. It's a quick and dirty 4-quadrant. Like, these are the things I love and I want to do more of. These are the things that I like them, but I'm not good at them. These are the things I'm not good at, but I like to do. And these are the things I suck at that I hate, right? If I can pile in a bunch of things that I really don't enjoy doing into a list, and you can go through, and I'd have my whole team do this. Put all the things we don't enjoy doing in a list, start to compare those. And if you see a pattern of, that's a really repeatable task that nobody here enjoys doing, maybe that's the place that you ought to go find an AI solution to fix. Because if I can delegate to AI the things that nobody loves and give them more of the kind of work they really love, what's going to happen? Their production's going to go up, their happiness is going to go up, their attitude's going to get better, we're going to have a better culture in the company. And I would run that exercise every quarter in 2026. Delegate and elevate. Find the things that you hate to do. And I used to do this at my MSP when we would hire a new person. Okay, we're getting ready to hire a person. We're only a 12-person team. We're going to hire a person. What job are we going to give them? We know we need capacity. Let's go figure out the things that we can give an office admin. Like, what are they going to do? All right, find the things that everybody else doesn't like, put them into a job description, and find the weirdo that loves staring at spreadsheets and doing reconciliations and doing that stuff that all the rest of our team didn't like doing. There's somebody out there that likes that. There's somebody out there who really takes away pride in having that done. Give it to them, right?
Somebody that's really into Lifecycle Insights.
An AI doesn't get mad when you give it a task you didn't enjoy, right? So give it the task you don't enjoy, and life will be better for everybody in your organization. And that, in my mind, is the right way to deploy AI culture. Like, let's go find the things. And, the first answer from all the texts is going to be printer tickets, make them all go away, password resets, make them all go away. And if we can find a way to streamline a lot of that, get it out of here, it's a win for everybody.
And there's layers to it, right? Like, you're going to automate that one thing that you hate, and then you're going to go, okay, well, what's the next thing? What's the next thing that we
start with a password reset, right? Which is simple. Then we move on to an employee leaving an organization, an account deprovision. When we deprovision an account, we can kill the Microsoft account, but now there's 27 other things that they log into. How can we use AI and automation to go start to turn off a bunch of those things so that deprovisioning an account is consistent, happens the same every time? Like, we know that it works. We get some reporting back on it, instead of just trusting that the tier 1 intern that's been with us for 25 days can follow the checklist in IT Glue and actually do all the work right.
You, at the end of your LinkedIn post, you said AI doesn't eliminate tier 1. It removes the stupid work so T1s can finally do a fulfilling job. Tomorrow's mistake won't be still having the T1 job. The mistake will be never redefining the job to be done. Start thinking about this now, because unlike replacing T1s with robots, supplementing them with advanced tooling and pivoting the role will happen sooner than you think.
Man, I feel I was on fire when I wrote that.
Yeah, that was right on there. You're dropping bars. you're dropping mics on that one.
When you talk as much as I do, you forget half of it before you hit submit. Yeah.
I'm just here to remind you how great of a post that was. You say it's going to happen sooner than you think. I know you can't give a timeline to that, but are some MSPs in for a rude awakening if they're not thinking about what you're talking about right now?
Yes, but let's take a step back. In 2008, I was customer 44 of a little tiny company operating out of a garage or a basement or something like that in Ohio. They were 5 employees, and they sold me this thing called LabTech. That was my entrance into being an actual MSP instead of just a break-fix shop. When we bought that tool, I had to go teach all of my Delaware kind of we call them slower lower. When you live down below the canal there in Delaware, you're in the slower lower. You're a good old farm boy. We had to go teach the slower lower what a managed service provider even was, and then we could go sell them on managed services. So we're in that phase right now. It is super early. I was an early adopter of an RMM tool and of some managed services stuff. I'm sure there are folks who are listening going, 2008, my God, I was doing it in 2006. Great. But, in Delaware, we were one of the earliest, because the joke is you got to pump the sunlight into Delaware. It's so far behind. But We're in those early stages still. I know it feels like we've been talking about it forever, but I mean, ChatGPT's third birthday was November. This tech is still brand spanking new. We have time, but it's going to change quickly. So I don't think you're behind.
Do you think
yet?
Real fast? Let me follow. Do you think that's because the technology is evolving so rapidly? Like, it is only 3 years old, but look how much it's changed in 3 years. Do you think that is, like you say, you're not behind yet, but do you think that's what's a part of the catalyst for some of the fear, or I guess maybe even a catalyst for your statement of like, hey, one day you're going to wake up and this is evolving so quickly. We know, if you listen to the AI experts out there, like the actual people who know what they're talking about, even they don't fully understand how quickly AI is moving.
Yeah, I'm not sure any of them actually know what they're talking about, but
That's fair.
the reality is, you said it. The reality is, one day you'll wake up, and the world will be different. ChatGPT will drop a model, or Google will drop a model, or Perplexity will drop a model, and it'll turn this thing on its head. And there's been kind of a slowdown in the drastic improvement between models, but that's not going to stay that way forever. Somebody will find an eclipse moment that really topples things over again, and one of those will shift the industry way more quickly. Just like what happened with security, when all of a sudden insurance started to push on it. Now all of a sudden security went from a nice to have to a you can't insure your business if you don't have it kind of thing. So I think that day is coming. None of us could possibly know when that's going to happen, which is why I think the opportunity is now, not to go make the big change, but to build some planning and say, hey, not only do we know what the change might look like, we have a way to stick our toe in the water. And we know if we get 1% better every day, then even if the world upends, we're way closer than we were 6 months ago. Like, as a company, we're more prepared.
Yeah. I appreciate all your words of wisdom, man. Thank you for being the first episode of Unfiltered. Once again, this is about exciting. As an AI native, I'm glad you think so. As an AI native company, man, I know there's a lot of noise in the channel, and I'm experiencing myself, like, already. I think people are experiencing AI fatigue because they hear it everywhere. Especially I don't want to say especially outside the MSP channel, but like, I just know, I see the comments on YouTube videos and Instagram reels that are all about AI, and there's so many people just seemingly already tired and fatigued of it, right? And so I believe it's our job, if you're in this space like we are, to find the actual use cases that are going to produce ROI, but be human first. And that's really our goal, at least with HelpGhost. And that's the goal of this podcast, is cutting through the noise, getting around the BS. Where's the real ROI, and what keeps the industry human first? That's the point of Unfiltered. And I think you've nailed it today with all of your thoughts, man. So I appreciate you.
Well, I would just leave everybody with the thought, we're 5 or 6 years into AI is going to kill the tier 1 engineer by the end of the year. So, it's the same analogy of, if I predict a financial recession every year, I'll be right at least, 1 out of 10 years. So
right.
Chicken Little will always be screaming that the sky is falling. We know as MSPs, the right answer is 1% better every day. So if you're not looking at it already, today's the time to get started. Don't forget the power of this community. This community is freaking amazing. If you are not a member of a community, go check out MSP Geek, go check out Tech Tribe. Go find a community of your peers somewhere. Go to GTIA, go find a community of your peers and get involved in a conversation with the rest of them to learn what they're doing, because somebody's already done a little bit more homework than you have, and they'll be happy to share it with you and drag you along with them on this journey.
Yeah, 100%, man. Where can people find you if they don't already know where to find you?
Alex at empathmsp.com or Alex J. Farling on LinkedIn.
Empath is the deal. Empath is the deal.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And right, one day Empath will have some AI, but we're not. We're over here in our laggard attitude towards it. But we'll get.
Yeah, we won't drop the HelpGhost Empath teaser just yet.
One of these days.
All right, brother. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.